Donald Trump planned to overthrow the regime of Venezuelan dictator Nicolás Maduro during his first term. This was stated on CNN by John Bolton, who served as Trump's national security advisor in 2018 to 19. Maduro is now awaiting a court hearing in New York, which, according to some reports, could take place as early as Monday. The Venezuelan dictator is accused of narco-terrorism in the United States. Federal prosecutors claim that Maduro and other high-ranking Venezuelan officials collaborated with a Colombian rebel group to redirect cocaine and weapons to the United States. Alexander Muzicuk will tell you more.
The captured Venezuelan dictator Maduro was brought to a detention center in Brooklyn. The New York Times reports that at least 40 people, both military personnel and civilians, were killed as a result of Saturday's U.S. strikes on Venezuela. The trial of Maduro on charges of narco-terrorism will require the American authorities to present evidence that is convincing to all 12 jurors. Otherwise, the dictator could be acquitted. The United States and most civilized countries consider Maduro's government illegitimate due to constant election fraud, mass repression, and systematic persecution of the opposition. So the imprisonment of the Venezuelan dictator sparked a wave of joy among refugees from the Maduro regime and his predecessor Hugo Chavez. This is how, in particular, Venezuelans in the United States celebrated.
We knew this would happen, but we didn't think it would be so soon. The news caught us off guard overnight. But this is not the end yet. After this, we need to focus on rebuilding Venezuela. The most important thing is that soon we will be able to be with our families. I haven't seen my daughters for 6 years, so I have mixed feelings. I've cried a lot. I'm very happy because I know that soon I'll be able to return to Venezuela.
And this is how people in Argentina are celebrating the fall of Maduro's regime.
When you're here in Argentina, outside your own country, when you had to leave because of political persecution, because of abductions, and now you see that the regime of all these tormentors is collapsing one after another, that's what moves us. That's what makes you say, wow, my heart is shouting with joy.
In fact, through his actions, Trump has lifted all restrictions on hunting down dictators after Putin himself destroyed international law with his aggression against Ukraine. After Maduro was captured, Trump initially made it clear that he expected to govern Venezuela through the country's vice president Delcy Rodriguez, who supposedly agreed to cooperate with Washington, but stated that Maduro remained the legitimate president.
We demand the immediate release of President Nicolás Maduro and his wife Celia Flores, the only president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro. All of Venezuela has been put on combat alert according to the decree already signed by President Maduro, the only president of Venezuela.
Then Trump stated that control over the country, working together with the Venezuelan people, would be taken by his team, which would include Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the Minister of War under the command of the Chief of Staff. At the same time, Trump, judging by his words, does not see the Venezuelan opposition leader and Nobel Prize laureate Maria Corina Machado in power in Venezuela.
I think it will be very difficult for her to be a leader. She does not have support within the country. She is a very good woman, but she does not inspire admiration.
None of Venezuela's allies, including Moscow and Beijing, have taken decisive steps to support Maduro. Even though the overthrow of his regime threatens Russia not only with the loss of a key partner in the Western Hemisphere, but also with an economic blow. After all, the American operation to change Venezuela's leadership will alter not only the global geopolitical balance, but also oil prices. Trump has already stated that the U.S. will take control of Venezuela's oil reserves, which are considered the largest in the world.
The U.S. will involve American companies to invest billions of dollars in restoring Venezuela's devastated oil industry. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, Venezuela has enormous oil reserves of 303 billion barrels, which is about 1/5 of the world's total reserves.
However, due to sanctions, Venezuela supplied only 1% of the oil on global markets. So as CNN reports, oil prices are unlikely to spike and may even fall. And this is very bad news for Russia, whose lion's share of income depends on oil exports. Russian oil keeps getting cheaper and now costs almost half as much as the price set in the Russian budget. Venezuela once exported about 3.5 million barrels a day. Now it's less than 1 million. And almost all of this oil mainly went to China.
China is deeply shocked and strongly condemns the use of force by the United States against a sovereign state and actions against its president. Such hegemonic actions by the United States seriously violate international law and the sovereignty of Venezuela, and also threaten peace and security in Latin America and the Caribbean region. China firmly opposes this. We call on the United States to abide by international law, the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, and to stop infringing on the sovereignty and security of other countries.
In contrast, Trump stated that the U.S. operation in Venezuela supports the implementation of his priorities under the America First policy as it ensures a stable supply of oil. Thus, Trump pulled the Monroe Doctrine out of the archives, the foundation of American foreign policy in the early 19th century, which asserted that the Western Hemisphere should be free from the influence of any powers other than the United States. However, on the other hand, this approach could also allow other countries and dictatorial regimes to try to expand their spheres of influence over weaker satellite regions. Alexander Muzichuk, Vikna STB program, good night.